So I just want to say this real quick. I feel like with this delay with Instagram and how it is, it doesn't allow you to get the full effect of the podcast because of the delay. Like now it's showing the intro, but it didn't show it all until I press live. So while we're getting set up, thank you everybody who is going to be coming on to Instagram. Let's make sure that we got Facebook going on over here. Trying to get everything situated. All right, we are live on Facebook.
Let me check mine
I'm
too.
watching you sip on whatever you're sipping while I'm on Facebook.
Escabasier. No, it's not glass. It's a little bourbon. This is the
And
kind of week I've been having.
that
Talking,
delay, that
talking
good
about.
old.
I gotta drink through it.
So today is it's a pretty interesting episode. So I did do a I'm not okay. So I guess this would be a part two or a part one, depending on which one. So I did post one episode. I feel like it was I am not okay. Um, I don't know, but I'll see. I didn't do any promo for it. But how have you been, Antoine?
I have been blessed,
I'm
but
sitting here anxious. So I
I've,
feel like this is the perfect
I've
episode.
also have experienced some weird energy out here.
Okay. So the episode, even though this is co-ed edition, the episode title of today is that it is I am not okay. And I came up with this episode because starting back with recording, going through transition and feeling like I'm about to go through transition again. um, Dating spaces and letting go of my past and starting all over. A lot of people, while being on season three and some of season two, making things look like everything was good, but it wasn't good. I wasn't okay. And so that's why I decided to come up with this episode because a lot of us walk in these spaces as though everything is good, but we got some real stuff going on in our lives.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Indeed.
I want to focus on mental health. I know you mentioned, these mental health spaces and going in. So I'm kind of interested to get your input. So as far as the story, I don't really have a story. It was more of me. Being in these spaces, trying to make, especially season three, trying to make it seem like I was in this perfect relationship that I wasn't in. I wasn't even in a relationship. Um, but trying to make things seem like it was good out there in the good old Orlando. You know,
In your gray areas.
yeah, it was completely gray. I had lost a job. I relocated for a little bit. Now I'm here where I'm at, but relocation. But in front of the camera, I just had to make things look like I was okay. But I was out snapping off on people. About to get kicked out of Orlando. I mean, what is it? Universal Studios about to get kicked out. Yeah,
For real.
yeah. But we were at the Chocolate Emporium, and I snapped. Like
For what
I
reason?
snapped.
Why you not?
So the guy that I was doing the co-hosting stuff with when we took our break, he ended up going. I feel like I invited you to Orlando also. I feel like I invited everybody to Orlando. Well, I invited a couple of people. He was the only person who took the bait. I guess he thought I was inviting him for, this time for us to spend together. It was around my birthdays. And no, no.
That's why you thought you was inviting them,
That's
bro.
what he thought. But it was around my birthday. We usually go around the same time. Because it's timeshare, I feel like it was like $430 something dollars for the whole week in Orlando. And you get, the one bedroom condo. So you can't beat that. So that's why I was inviting a lot of people to come out, like, hey, let's hang out.
To a one bedroom?
One bedroom, pull out couch, whole, patio.
I love you, but I'm too old to do the real world house.
Well, no, it everybody had their own.
Oh,
So yeah, it was 430 for your own. Yeah, not us being in one bedroom. No, you have your own, got a full kitchen, you know. So for $430, it wasn't on them crazy, cheesy timeshare places. It's a nice place.
how many days was it?
It was from Sunday to it was for a week.
Oh shit!
Sunday, yeah, it was for a week.
I'll take the next one. You know what I'm saying? But like, no, I didn't get that invite.
Yeah, it was for a whole week. So he's out there. The first night he's like, "Oops, I sent you this picture by accident." Like,
Ding,
and then, and then it was like,
ding.
"Hey, do you want to hang out?" And it was like, "No, I don't. Like, I really don't." We set our date the day that we would hang out, and then I ended up meeting a guy in Orlando. True story. I don't know if my sister gonna be on here. So he was like, "Let's go to a day party." So we went to this day party. I think it was on a Sunday. Yeah, it was no Sunday. I don't know. Went to this day party and I'm chill. I think you've seen me out when we went to the All Black. I don't be out on the dance floor like that. I'm just a chill person.
What
And
about?
so he kept saying, "You want to drink? You want to drink?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want to drink." "You sure? You sure? You sure?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good." So then even my sister was like, "This is how my sister is. She's good. Like, trust me, she's good." So then I see Orlando from afar. He
Mhm.
walks up to me and he was like, "What you drinking on?" I said, "I'm not drinking on anything." So then he asked my sister, he said, "Who is this?" I said, "My sister." He was like, "Hey sis, go get them to make me a nice drink and get a drink for you and your sister." I was like, "Oh, that's what we doing." So she went over to the bar and got them to make our drinks. And we walked over to the bar. And as we're talking at the bar, I get a text message like, "Oh, so you can get a drink from him, but you can't get one from me." And so I'm trying to find out where he at this day party and where he peeking at in the corner. And so,
See.
I meet Orlando then. Me and my sister hang out with him and he was just hating. Like even when we got in the car when I was driving back. Mind you, this guy does not look nothing like the person he referenced. He was like, "Oh, so you was with that old Anthony Hamilton looking like?" I said, "This man don't look nothing like Anthony Hamilton. What the
Where
like?
I'm from.
Like you really hating?" So what ended up happening is we get to City Walk, and when we get there, I said, "All right, we're doing content." I said, "When do you want to do it?" He was like, "I don't want to do anything." And I was like, "But that's the only reason I invited you to City Walk so we can do content while we're here. I don't feel like recording." I said, "So when we going?" I said, "So we not recording. So what's the whole point of you being here?" "I just don't feel like it." I said, "Okay." So we get to Chocolate Emporium. I don't know what he said, but I just snapped off like, "I don't like you. I don't want to be with you. Leave me alone." Like I'm yelling. Like people are looking at me. I'm yelling. And my sister was like, "Shh." And I was like, "I don't have to be quiet." Like I was loud. I was
Wow.
loud. I was loud. I was loud. There may have been some profanity in it, but yeah,
In the tape.
yeah. So everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. So yeah.
Shaking the tape.
Yeah, shake. I was shaking it. Yeah, I definitely was. I definitely was. So yeah.
Oh,
So within that, even with that, it could have been handled differently, but I was going through
how could it have been handled different?
a lot. I didn't have to, I could have said like, "Hey, the reason we came out here is to do content. Like, why do you not want to do it?" Because I think the reason he was like, it was overwhelming.
No, no, no,
That's what he told my sister.
no, no. Yeah, I need you to backtrack. And when I say how you could have done it different, I need
Oh, as far as him coming to the trip in general or hanging out with
all of it. Because apparently you guys were not on the same intensive page.
No, we were. So let's backtrack to before the trip happened, right? So when I invited him, I said, "Hey, you can invite a boo or whatever." I said my family and I usually go, but some people get invited outside. I said, "So if you want to bring your boo or bring your boys, I don't know. Like it's this is how much it is per like condo, not so however you want to do it." And I say you can bring a boo. So literally, I think a week before the trip, he said out of his mouth, "I feel like you bamboozled me."
Ooh,
I said, "How?" He said, "Because I really thought that this was something where we were chilling." I said, "But how when I told you you can bring a girl?"
okay. At that point, he had already paid.
He had already paid. Yeah, it was too late by then. And I straightened it out even there. I even said to him, I said, "Hey, like I have never once I said this is about business." I said, "I like where we podcast. We have a good thing." I said, "And no anything was there me coming on to you or feeling like, I liked you, so I don't know where you got that from." And his thing was, "Well, you invited me." I said, "I invited you and like three other people." I know, but I'm like, there's no but to it. So
So
yeah,
there was nothing you could have done different.
it wasn't.
So
So yeah, so going ending that podcasting relationship for whatever reason, I come back home and I'm still not good. Like even with you, I wasn't really talking to you, saying what was going on. I knew about at that time my surgery was definite, but because of my health, I kept having to get it pushed back.
mhm,
So, I'm stressing out because I have all this stuff that I'm going through, and technically, I'm not even situated in a permanent place to stay because I'm still looking to figure out if I'm going back to Northern Virginia, if I'm going to Jersey, or, because Richmond was never the plan. It was either Northern Virginia or Jersey.
okay.
Yeah. So, or Florida, because
And
Florida was still kind of open at that time.
they say Richmond looking real cute right now. Is it looking real cute over there now? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. They got a lot of stuff going on. Shout out to the Love Movement. They have a brunch at this place called Harry's.
Mhm.
That they just built out in Scott's Addition. It's pretty. It's not. They didn't build it, but they changed the restaurant. I guess it was another restaurant. And so on Sundays they have brunch. It's really nice. Um, then you got the park. That's still nice. They got different restaurants in there. It's much different than
What I grew up in.
huh?
It's been what I grew up in.
Yeah, definitely. It's totally different than where I grew up too.
All right. So then, all right.
So
You
I
want
guess
good.
huh?
You want good, but you was putting on a face.
I was putting on the face. So I guess I could have took a break. I could have told everybody, "Hey, I need some space." But I felt like if I stopped, I felt like I failed
Where did that come from?
because not even though I still stopped, not finishing, starting, you, Robin, everybody saying how great this is, and then these relationships that I built with other, podcasters. And even I was writing at the time too. So I was writing for a PR company. Everything was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good. This is so great. You're so like," I wrote an article for a woman who what her film was featured in Paris at whatever the film festival is out there.
Hey,
Yeah, so it was like I had all these great opportunities going on, and it's like I can't stop because I don't want to stop to tell somebody like I'm really not feeling it. Even when I wrote her article, for her, I think her and I did so many rewrites that at one point she kind of just put her spin in it because I couldn't get it.
so then, what do you attribute? that I can't quit thing.
I feel like it's
At the end of
your
the day,
childhood. Like you can't stop. You gotta keep going. You don't quit. You're not a quitter. You gotta continue.
so it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like in in hindsight, you could have did things different, and you could have handled this another way, and you could have took the break you needed. And maybe it would have put you in a different place.
Maybe
The other part of that is you had to go through all that so you don't do that dumb shit
at that point too.
again, right? Because I watched it and my antennas went on as I had my own shit that I was going dealing with, and I was more mad that you didn't trust in me enough to tell me, and so then you just project it out,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sitting here like, why am I cannon fodder? I didn't do shit.
Yeah, because I remember I think we tried to do one episode and it just flopped. Like it we couldn't get it because it was just like I was just like at the point where I'm just like because I don't think you remember too. Even my daughter's grandmother had passed during that time. Yeah, I think my grandmother. It was just like so much stuff. It was just like I just want to be done with this. Like let's just hurry up. Let's just get it over. Let's just finish this. That's how it's feeling. Like let's
But
just
I
finish it.
mean, I think really didn't start unraveling until preparations for the third season. We got through the second.
No, no, no.
Okay,
I,
what I'm aware of,
yeah, it was
is when we were starting to gear up for the third season.
so the reason it was before the third season, and this is it was around the time I was doing a co-hosting thing before the third season even popped off.
Yeah, I remember them guys.
No, not the guys, the girl, the lady.
Mm.
So somebody lost their co-host and asked me to fill in for their co-host. This was this was basically another infotainment. So it wasn't about dating. It was literally me being a co-host doing something completely different. It was music and
You
infotainment.
sure that timeline is right? Because I remember you co-hosting with.
Positive.
I know. I remember you co-hosting with the guys, but you co-hosting with another person, like
That was after him.
right. But I'm saying like this is like the first time I'm like really, really hearing that you was on a whole nother show,
Yeah.
right? You didn't say that to me at all during the time.
Because this was at the time before when it was after homecoming. Remember, we saw each other homecoming,
Yeah.
right?
Right?
So after homecoming, someone interviewed me
Okay.
and she did an interview. Interview went fine. Then around November, she reached out to me and asked me, can I fill in? So I filled in November. So all during my winter break, I was doing the co-hosting with her in all of December. So we had already took our break.
Yeah, we weren't shooting then.
We weren't shooting. So all November and December I was doing because I didn't post it because it wasn't something like it's not
I
content
mean,
that
I'm
I
not
do.
saying I posted, but you didn't even tell me what was going on. I
Yeah.
thought you were just waiting to go to New York in January.
No, because she was the one who told me about New York.
Right, but we were waiting. We were. I had already started making arrangements to go in January.
So but I feel like
No, because January was when we were supposed to win. I'd already started making arrangements,
and I think I did it in December was when I scheduled it, right?
and you right because I had to yeah I had to get clearance. I had
It
to,
had yeah, it was December is when I scheduled it because December is when I found out that I needed to go to the doctor because I had something already scheduled. It was December. So December is when everything kind of shifted because again, for her, I wasn't her co-host. She just asked me, "Can you fill in? Can you fill in? Can you fill in?" Until she found a co-host. So when December hit, December I had something already scheduled and planned. I scheduled the podcast because I changed the dates twice, right?
Once for me.
I feel like I changed them twice. If it was once,
We
then
were supposed to go in January, and then you pushed to February, and I said, I'm out
so
of town.
what had happened was December, right before I went back up to Richmond, I had an appointment, was having everything. Okay, this is what's going on. And when I had the appointment, it was like, you need to go to your primary. So then that's when it kind of shifted because it was still COVID. So I had to drive from Norfolk to Woodbridge. So I'll go out there, get whatever, da da da. So what ends up happening is my doctor was kind of like, you can't do whatever. And I wasn't cleared to do a couple of things. So then that's when I said, okay, let me try to see if I could reschedule to it. I did it twice. That's what it is, Antoine. I did it twice. I rescheduled twice. The one that I told you about was the I feel like it was the second time. I feel like I rescheduled twice. For
I was.
some reason,
We were set to go. We were set to go up there the weekend of like January the 6th, 6, 13 or 16, somewhere around that time. And I was good with that date. And
something. So then it had to be November ish because whatever happened, I had to stop my original plans in December
so
to figure out what was going on with my health.
I don't know that part of it. What I
Yeah.
know about us was someone told you about getting in a studio.
That I talked to, yeah, that was in November. That was like end
Someone,
of November, December. Yes.
somebody else was supposed to give you access or help you get into an actual studio, right? That was when we was gonna go up in January.
Yes.
Then you start dealing with this woman, and then
No, no.
no, 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 no. I mean, you was. I remember you said that there was a woman who was going to help you out with something, right? She was like she was helping you, and you was helping her. It was like some quid pro quo. That's when the conversation around January switched. That she wants to do this in February. She said we should do this in February, and then you picked that weekend that I'm in Jamaica, and I'm like, oh,
No, no, no. She suggests because of I had to switch the dates. She was just like, why don't you do February since you can't do January at all? Because I couldn't do January at all. That's how it switched. But she wasn't doing something for me. She knew she was the one who suggested the studio. Because what I was gonna do was oh what I was gonna do was I was just gonna go to Philly, rent out an Airbnb and do the recording there.
okay.
But no, she didn't give me that date. I had found that date because that was the only date that was good because come April was when everything in my life was about to go crazy.
I mean, I understand that.
So yeah.
I
So
understand that.
that's why I'm saying I knew February was the only because again I'm trying to rush and get all this stuff done. I'm trying to hurry up and get everything done. And February was the only time that I could do it. Because after that, that's when I was literally going up and down the road to go to doctor's appointments.
So even though we had finished shooting season two,
Because I even stopped talking to her before I even did February. I stopped talking to her in January. That's why I was trying to figure. I stopped talking to her in January
so again, why couldn't you say you weren't? Why do you feel like you had to just keep fighting through that? Like you were tearing yourself apart, and you was tearing yourself apart, and then people around you was collateral damage, whether they deserved it or didn't.
because it was that whole failure thing. I felt like I failed.
How?
I felt that way because of everything that was going on. It's like, no, I could keep it together. I could do this. You know, it's not that serious. not knowing how serious everything was.
Do you think you had the capacity to take a mental break at that point?
I think I did. Um, I think I should have, and that's what I was going to ask. Like, when do you feel like, going through stuff? When do you feel like people should, like, when is that point where it's like, okay, I need a break?
When they're smart enough to realize they need one
That part.
immediately. But we not. We push. Like I did it, push through, and then I didn't get a mental break until I broke. I'm talking about like I had a full on panic attack in the middle of the street. Couldn't breathe, couldn't talk. I think I was crying. It was terrible. If anybody saw me, they would have thought I was probably fucking retarded. Excuse me, can't say that word. They thought I was going through. Somebody would have called somebody if they saw me. I was just walking alone in D.C., leaving a bar and trying to call a friend of mine and had a fucking panic attack in the middle of the street. I just was like, I just at that moment I hit bottom and I realized that I had never done anything to address my mental health. And so I started therapy right after that. It was 2016. I started therapy right after that. I had to. I had little small stints in therapy prior to that, but I was like, I gotta fix this shit now.
Yeah, for me, it was after I did the reschedule. Whenever in January, what ended up happening, because I told you I ended it with the lady. And what happened was I was going out to Orlando, and I had a work meeting like as soon as I got off my flight. And I think I got off the flight, I didn't get my rental in enough time. Like, they held me back from, it was a delay. We're waiting on my rental. And what happened was the lady who I worked with, we recorded her stuff on a certain day.
Mhm.
She canceled on that day and pushed it to the next day. Even my grandmother, I never forget, because my grandmother was like, she's going to interfere with the time that you're in Florida. And I was like, no, because I don't record in Florida. Like, I don't. So she canceled the next day, and then she knew I had the flight. So I told her, I would try to do it, but I can't do it after 5 o'clock. So however long your stuff, it is a hard stop at 5. Like, we cannot go past 5 o'clock. Because I got stuff I have to do. So again, my rental was behind, and I think I had to get his key from his house. So I drove to his job, and I had a meeting, and I had a couple of meetings. And his job from his job to his house, I knew I wouldn't get to where I needed to be in enough time to record. Mind you, she pushed it back. So now again, the time that I told her I was available, I wasn't going to be available. So I'm in these meetings in my car, everything is fine. And I look at the time, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to make it. And what happens when I'm in a meeting that, with work, it's like, hey, I got some impromptu work for you to do, and I need it by end of business day. So as soon as they told me that, I'm like, I can't record. I it's no way I can do it. And so for me, again, I'm feeling like I'm disappointing someone, because even though she's past her deadline is to release it on that particular day, which is like a Wednesday or a Tuesday. So when I talked to her, I told her, I said, hey, I cannot do it. I need to send out these emails by 12 o'clock. I'm already behind. I'm late. I got to do my work. And she's just like, why can't you? And I'm like, because of work. She's like, well, when can you? I'm like, I can't do it anytime while I'm on this trip. And it was more of the like, why not, for what's the questioning. And but I was still trying to make time. Like, well, maybe I could do it, maybe I could do it here, maybe I could do it there. And I just bust down crying, like, I can't do it. Like, I cannot do this. I am behind. I am like I'm trying to fix everything and do these problems with work, trying to help you. You're getting upset with me, and I said it. I'm like, I can't do any of this, and I just started crying because it was a lot of stuff with the Florida stuff that came out. It was just so much stuff that came out in that day. I just broke down. Like that was like the day I found out he was messing with somebody else. It was just like everything going on all in one day, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, I'm trying to be the fixer. I'm trying to fix everything. I'm trying to be there for everybody else, but I'm not there for me. And that's when I told her, like, I can't. There is no way in any capacity in my day that I can do any of this while I'm out. Like, I'm sorry, you can't do you can't do your podcast episode. I'm sorry, but I can't do it. And then she put me on a 2 week notice. So yeah.
So it's like, so that's just regular life. You know, you try to tie in dating when you dealing with shit like that, or dealing with any type of person where you have to like give part of yourself to that situation. That's a no win.
Mm-mm.
But we do it all the time still because motherfuckers don't know how to be by themselves. They don't understand. Now, when I hit my when I hit rock bottom, I was coming out of a relationship. It would have been irresponsible for me to go jump right back into it. Like you gotta get that phone call. And people act like they good. They just bounce from relationship and they good. And they don't get that phone call. They don't take no time to process why the relationship failed, what part they played in it, where they could have been better for the next time. None of that shit happens because they just ready to just be with somebody who wants to be with.
So why isn't it good to date when you're not mentally ready? Would be my question to you.
Because you're a wreck. You're not even good to yourself. How you gonna be good to someone else? Like seriously, I see it all the time. People be overwhelmed, and then they don't understand. Okay, just tell me that. Tell me you're overwhelmed. Tell me that this is not a good time for you. Maybe we can revisit this down the line if our interests still align.
I think that's what people fear is if
That's
you take
that's
a
that's
break,
irresponsible.
can you come back? Like, I think a lot of people fear that. They're
Really,
afraid that, you
it's
know,
not about coming back. Fuck that. It's not about coming back. It's about saying I met you at the wrong time. Now that I acknowledge that's the wrong time, I need to fix it. If it's meant to be, and it's the right time at the right moment, then it will be. Excuse me. But people don't need to worry about going in reverse. You're gonna meet a lot of dope people at times of your life where you shouldn't. Just because you meet a dope person, don't mean you have to try to hold on to them in a way that requires you to give parts of yourself
that's true.
because you don't have it to give. Now, if you're meeting people and you're just building connections with no expectations, then you could be a wreck because you're not beholden to anything but building a friendship. But you're meeting people with the intention and the purpose of finding your mate and companion, and you're not whole. What the fuck? They tell you that you're supposed to give people from your spilling over cup, not your three-fourths, one-fourth, one-half cup. But again, we are a society of people who can't be alone.
So, Harold Reed, I guess that's somebody on your page.
Yeah, that's my man.
So he made a comment because it didn't pop up on here.
At all.
So he said dealing with mental health challenges can be incredibly difficult. It's tough because we often prioritize other things in life and inadvertently push our mental health to the back burner. When we finally realize that we need help, it can be overwhelming and feel like we've left it too late. I understand how hard it can be, and I want you to know that you're not alone. Thank you.
That's my man. He's a good guy.
I gotta
Brother
change
from
this.
another mother. But I mean, that's real. But you know, like it's so sad for us because all of this clarity comes in hindsight.
Yeah.
You know, and we drag ourselves through so much unnecessarily. But I encourage people that that's okay. You can stumble, you can fall, and you can get up, right? Just don't keep making that same mistake. Like change behavior is important.
So what kind of routines do you feel like? I know on our podcast that particular episode we talked about journaling and things that I don't know if you journal. So we talked about journaling and I statements. I know for me I don't journal even though I'm a writer. I do not journal. I do a lot of I statements though. I try to do I statements. I do the post-it notes. I put them everywhere to kind of look at stuff to
Mhm.
be positive. I have my vision board to kind of focus. But what are some things that you feel that, when taking a break or you may feel like taking a break, I push therapy. Therapy is always, a great thing to try. It definitely helps.
I try do that
I
shit.
didn't do it, but some people are afraid to go.
Yeah, yeah. I currently, have some dealings with someone who doesn't think they need to go to therapy, and I'm just like, yeah, but you react. You re- I know you need to go to therapy because this is what you do.
Hmm.
You let your trigger allow you to react, but you don't let your security allow you to be curious. So when you respond, it sounds like a triggered response.
Okay.
You know. So yeah, I've been preaching therapy for a minute. It was probably one of the best decisions in my life, right? And I was speaking to a young lady, and my little profile says, come healed. Like I'm therapy taught me this, right? Her question to me, and she didn't see what the problem was, and she immediately deflect based on my response, right? But her question to me was, I like what you said about therapy.
Okay.
Did you really go? And I simply responded by saying, please don't make me subject to your trauma. Like don't deflect, onto me. If somebody has lied to you in your past, that's not on me. I'm not lying to you. Like I don't have a reason to lie to you.
I got
Like
you.
and she said that was rude and that I was being offensive and defensive.
Okay.
So you know what I'm saying? So like it's so funny to me that we're in a point where we are trying to shed the stigmas of therapy.
Yes.
A lot of people out here are asking for you to come heal, come with all this emotional intelligence, be able to communicate, but they haven't done no work on themselves. They don't even like it's funny like how everybody is just ducking accountability these days, men and women. The thing about it is it's the word is so torrid now because men are starting to use it back. See, accountability was only a thing that men had to deal with. You need to be y'all ain't accountable to y'all actions. Y'all do this, y'all do that. Woo, 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 woo. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, we did that for years. But then men started getting some of that work, start getting that therapy, and then they start asking for that accountability back. Now it's funny because I really didn't understand that we was gonna talk about this today, and I just had this conversation with somebody because I met them at a point where they were busy,
Okay.
overwhelmed. I could hear it, even though they wouldn't physically say it. I could tell, aloof, sporadic responses, if respond maybe in days, right? And then just uberly distracted on any type of phone call, and kind of always just like you could just hear it without them saying it,
I got you.
right? And so like I just fell back, like because I don't like feeling like I didn't get the hint, right? But here's the thing. In her mind, she swore she had this conversation with me. And I said, no. You mentioned in a conversation one time that you were feeling overwhelmed. But you and I did not have a conversation about, hey, this is a bad time in my life. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I got
hey,
you.
we should pause here because I really need to just focus on me. And you didn't have that conversation with me because you were being tough. And two, the work your work you either trying to get done or maybe work you working on didn't think didn't make you told you that you didn't have to tell me that at all. Therapy said that you didn't have to communicate if you didn't want to. Now, I'm not sitting here to debate anybody's therapy methods, but the whole point of therapy for me was to be better at communicating and expressing what I was feeling after I learned how to recognize what I was feeling and be able to healthily what's that? How do I say that?
Help who?
Healthy, how to express it in a healthy way.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to say healthily, like that's a real word. Not a real word.
And that was the one thing that I think I put as the last focus point of the resolution. Like, what does that look like? You can tell the changes in people, when they are really, you
They're
know,
more, they're more protective of their peace of mind, and they're not afraid to call you on some bullshit. Like, all right, here's another story. I don't even know if she's listening, but recently, somebody was going through a lot of stuff, and they had a minor trigger. I wouldn't even say a trigger response. They had an emotional response to something,
okay,
right? And I didn't like it. I didn't, but I fuck with her on a level that like she can get that grace because we're gonna talk it out, right? Boom. Couple days go by, and the scenario in which she had the emotional response kind of was a role reversal, right?
okay,
Now, at the time, I was dealing with something had came across my space and put me in a mood. So when the role reversal happened, she received a trigger response from me, right? Because that's how I felt in the time.
got it.
The
I got
problem was, and I full transparency, I brought it up on her birthday because the role reversal just happened to land on that day. So I was like, hey, if and I brought back up what her emotional response was about. Hey, if you talking about something that feels like that, that's what this feels like. And she was like, I thought we already talked about this. And next thing I'm realizing, oh shit, I'm having a triggered response. Right?
you. Mhm.
So we got off the phone. I let it sit for a bit. And I text her and I just apologize, like profusely, like, and explain what happened. And then later on, me had a conversation about it and we're good. That is the work. That is growth. You don't always agree. but the work helps you and that person come back to a healthy place of understanding and clarity.
And definitely communication, because I was going to say, even if we sum up the episode, communication is key. Like being transparent, um, not being afraid, being able to say that I'm not good, things aren't okay, or like you said, having a triggered moment, but coming back into those spaces, apologizing and saying, I didn't realize I did this, or I'm sorry when I did this, just because we have to make changes. We definitely do. Going into these spaces and still feeling like you can do the same thing over and over and not try to improve or better yourself is not a good thing. Sometimes we got to take a step back and look at, what am I doing wrong? How can I fix myself? And how can I, better myself
Mm.
to be a better you for you?
I mean, well, I guess some of the things I would say is, again, it's just acknowledgement
Hmm.
of what is going on in your world and being okay with saying I'm not okay. Two, accountability to hold yourself to a better standard so that you're presenting the best version of you out here in the world. You know, a lot of people will never be okay. One of my favorite things is I heard was, heal the child, save the adult.
Hmm.
That shit ain't happening still. So we're gonna be at a crossroads. So the problem is now when you got people who are doing work, there are people that they come around that's not doing the work. I mean, that shit is like an X-ray stench, and you're better able to recognize it, and you have to be the person that calls it out. And it's gonna be hard conversations sometimes. It might be conversations that don't go well at all. But in protecting your peace, you have to hold people accountable to their broken behaviors.
I agree.
You can't keep taking that on and bringing people into your world that's bringing you down and bringing down your vibration. Like that's just not what we on no more. Like if you are strong enough to do the work of improving yourself, you realize that you can't go backwards. And one of the main things that bring you backwards is people and their broken behaviors. Just pulling on your arm, like, come on, come with me to this toxic land.
Yep.
It's lit over here. I don't want that shit. Like,
Pull you
why,
right in it.
why are you complicated? I am not. I'm good. Like, and it's sad because you know what? I spent a lot of time in therapy, n- n- tearing down the walls that I used to have when I was younger, and putting up, better ones. They had like gates and peepholes and shit. Like at first it was just walls. It was concrete slabs. This one, got some doors, some peepholes, some windows. There's still some layers, but like you can get through it. You ain't gotta climb nothing. But there's certain things that get them keys. You know what I mean? To make that entrance even easier. But if you want to act like a fool, then I'll leave you them walls to scale. Period. You're not you're not ruining this work I did. It costs too much. It costs too much of my money, and it costs too much of my time, and it costs too much of years lost. Right? Because I felt like, God, man, I wish my dumb ass had went earlier. I probably would have saved myself a lot of heartache, a lot of problems, a lot of uh, bad friendships, relationships. But then again, that double-edged sword. I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
And
I
and
like,
I agree.
I like this version of me right
Sometimes you got to go through it, to, like you said, if I didn't go through it, what would the result be the same? I feel like this was a great episode. Chill, relax, kind of talking about therapy, and I always want to push therapy, you guys. Like even if you don't want to go, the first therapist may not be the best therapist. It took me, I think, two or three therapists until I found a therapist that I was okay with. Um,
My first therapy looked like Larry David.
Man, I don't even want to talk about the
He
first
was
place.
he
She
was
was like,
free.
"Oh my gosh,
He
what? Oh my
was
gosh, like, ma'am, you're not
free.
supposed to be looking at me like I'm crazy."
But he was free, and that's why I went with it. Like, all right, and I had this little program that was like helping find a therapist, and I
Oh,
found, they was probably doing pro bono work. But he looked like Larry David, and he wrote everything on a yellow pad.
Lord, oh my gosh.
But you know what? He was good because he kind of helped me deal with like talking through this shit about my dad.
Okay,
He couldn't help me with nothing else. Like we hit a wall, but like he got me through the part where I was like, because around the time like my dad was trying to play off like everybody was still angry at him. I'm like, I'm not angry at you, but he taught me like he was the one that taught me like about boundaries,
got it.
right? Like you can love somebody, they could be attached to you in a way, hell, your family, but like you can put boundaries around them niggas. I'm like, word. And I think he even said them niggas. That's what made me look at him like that. Like, word? Larry David was saying them niggas.
Antoine, how can they find you?
You can catch me on IG, yo. My shit is pure comedy. You can check the YouTube channel. Also, my shit is pure comedy. You can check the Twitch. My shit is pure comedy.
And you can find me, Natasha Renee underscore the creator on Instagram, and also Disaster Data 101 podcast on Instagram. On X is Disaster Date 101, and on YouTube it is Disaster Data 101 podcast. Thank you everybody who's listening. I did read all the comments. Lawrence, I'm sorry. I tried to adjust, but I knew we were pretty much at the end when you made the comment. That's why I moved a little bit closer to my mic. But thank you everybody that is on Instagram listening. We have a lot of people on Instagram. Thank you everybody that is on Facebook, on YouTube. We appreciate you. Thank you guys so much, and good night.
Hey, fuss at her, y'all. Tell her that we need to be up here more.
I know. Well, look, I know. Trust me, my niece called me on FaceTime all the time, and I'm sorry, Niecy, wherever you are, because I know I missed her FaceTime. So I'm gonna call you. Love you guys. All right. Good night.